and number two, they create jobs, okay? So as I sit at that table as the Urban League, I was like, okay, I'm a good corporate citizen. I understand all that process, but hey, I represent the Urban League and I represent a constituency. And let me just say that if I'm gonna sit at this table, we also have to talk about what are we gonna do for the incumbent people who are already here. We have got to help skill them up, connect them so that they also can compete, okay? So that's about creating a talent pipeline. Now, because Tri-C is one of our partners, and we have other college and university partners and other nonprofit partners and ministerial partners, we have started to look at the fact that the days of just getting a 4-year degree or a master's degree, you know, got all those, thank God, you know, that it worked for me. But as I look at my grandchildren and my children, that may not be the path for them. They can look at getting industry recognized credentials that can lead to get good paying jobs. They won't necessarily have to end up with $50,000 in college debt. Okay? Sorry, William. But no, I'm just saying sorry about that. But we know, but the community colleges understand, so they've started to implement that kind of training because they understand that they have to be flexible and look at what is really required and what's going to work. And so then they can provide those kinds of things. So this is about creating a talent pipeline. Now, one of the things I'll share with you is we work with youthful first-time offenders. That's why I said I would connect with you. One of the things that I find, and returning citizens, here's one of the biggest issues I find. When our folk leave an institution, they are only out of the building. They are still institutionalized in their minds. What we have to do as social service providers is provide services and supports to help unlock them in their minds and help them to understand who they are and now where they can go in spite of what they've encountered. We advocate for, hey, when you ask somebody who is trying to come off of welfare and you want to get them to self-sufficiency, you have got to move them incrementally. You can't expect them to come off today on an entry-level job that's making less money than what was coming into the house on the system and expect them to want to do that. So we have to advocate for policies and strategies. I go to Columbus about once every other month. I testify on committees to talk about what our people need. And that's what we have to have. And I'm gonna tell you something that is really discouraging is most of the time when I'm in their rooms, there is nobody else that looks like us. So, you know, so the ones of us that are positioned to go, you know, you heard the folks say today, to whom much is given, much is required. I have to go when I don't want to, when I may not feel like it, when it's raining, when it's snowing or whatever, because somebody's got to show up to speak on our behalf. And I know this is a divine assignment for me, so I'm willing to do that. Okay. So, these are the challenges impacting the talent development pipeline. William already talked about a lot of them, but I think the couple of ones that I'm going to hit on here that we may not have talked about as much is graduates from poor performing high schools, even at the top of their class. When they come to me at the Urban League, they can't take tests beyond an 8th or 9th grade reading level. They graduate from high school. They might be in the top 10% of their class because they've been in poor performing schools where they have not had the rigor or challenge of their colleagues in better performing schools. Cradle to prison pipeline. Prisons are being predicted to be built based on 3rd grade reading scores. program at the elementary school in our community near the Urban League where we're working on the 3rd grade reading guarantee. We're about solutions. The Urban League is the do tank. You know, we can talk about it all day. We go in the schools. We pull the teacher to the side and the kids and work with both of them to raise the reading scores, okay? I don't have time to talk. We got to do some stuff. Last thing is overrepresentation in the criminal justice systems. I don't need to say any more about that. So we're trying to tip the scale to desired outcomes by reducing the challenges. Okay, so here's solutions. In order to prepare, engage, and connect our local residents to the many employment opportunities in our new economy, we need to overcome disparities by number one, reducing inequalities in K-12 education. You will hear a lot of controversy about these new Common Core state standards. Folks fall on every side of that equation. Let me tell you where the Urban League stands. We say we're about high standards because we know our children have to compete globally. I'm telling you that America is falling in its ability to compete as a world power because our young people are not prepared educationally to the rate that children in Norway, in China, in other places are. And with this being a global economy, we're going to wake up one day and everybody else is going to have our jobs if we don't do something. So that's very, very important. The other thing is we have to say we will not accept our children not having the textbooks they need, not having the computers and technology that they need, not having, and guess what? Parents, we have to show up, okay? We have to, and at the Urban League, we have a program that we know schools are sometimes intimidating for parents, and because sometimes we have parents, we may not have done well in school, and we don't want to go back there. And sometimes we're not welcomed and treated well when we go there. Well, we have parent advocates to go with our parents to make sure that they can navigate those systems for them, but we got to show up. And so you can just see the rest because I want to catch us up on time. I will just hit developing career pathways. All those high demand areas that William talked about, we need to start working with young people in middle school, introducing in elementary school that these are where the jobs are. And this is what you need to get there, and let's start establishing a plan to help you to get there. We work in Max Hayes with the construction students, and what we give them is workforce readiness. We show them how to fill out applications. We tell them how to go on a job interview. Those are the things that we come alongside and bring to the table. Okay, final thought. Academic degrees are not the only passport to learning and earning and moving up in employment systems. We talked about industry recognized credentials. We need to intentionally develop a talent pipeline among local residents. And if not, this will be my final thought. Thank you. My final thought. If we don't wake up and figure out ways to build this talent pipeline, we're going to find ourselves in a tale of two cities. That tale of two cities is going to be a tale of unemployed and disconnected people who live in our community, while others are going to be coming into our communities, taking the jobs, okay, and benefiting from the prosperity associated. I have made it my legacy mission to try to turn that around. I hope you will support the Urban League. I hope you will find out more about what we're doing. I hope you'll join forces with us so that we can turn that around. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Lots of good information. We're going to proceed with our judge. We're going to hold the questions. As a matter of fact, if you have questions for Mrs. Mockebee, write them down and we will get the answers for you. We will pass them all along, and we will get those answers for you before the end of the day. Is that correct? Okay, all right, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a privilege. I'm humbly here, but not just in the sense of physically being here, because at age 17, I could have been Michael Brown. You see, I was a busboy at a Howard Johnson restaurant and left to lock it up one night. When my father's car I used was in shop. About 11:15 at night, I was waiting on the back stoop for my father to pick me up at midnight almost. Two white police officers drove up, jumped out of their car, squat position about 8 feet from me with guns pulled on me. And I said, I work here. They said, yes, I bet you do. I said, yes, Mr. Overton left me here. I'm the busboy. They factually arrested me, put me in the car. My father drove up, they made him stay in his car like it was a bank robbery. They told him it's the trail. Fortunately, they took me to Mr. Overton's home. He exonerated me and excoriated the two white police officers. But had I been sassy like a lot of our young black boys, used profanity, had I reached for anything, even a screwdriver, I might not be here talking to you today. And indeed, I went on to college, and in my junior year in college, I was recruited to be the first Negro or colored person the NAACP would use to compel the rebellious South. The state of Virginia, I was brought into the Prince Edward Farmville school cases in October of '54 to compel Virginia to abandon massive resistance to desegregation. They wouldn't use the word integration, desegregation, under death threats of being killed by the Ku Klux Klan. I may be alive here today only talking to you because of Governor Overton's walls. Because when he threatened to close all the colored schools in Arkansas, the NAACP and Thurgood Marshall, who was my lawyer, said they didn't have enough money to go forward, and they settled my case. But had my case not been settled, 8 years ahead of James Meredith, we may have had the U.S. Army and the National Guard forcing the University of Virginia Law School to admit me and keep me alive. That's my civil rights background, just a part of it, because I also was a butler. As a young lawyer, masquerading as a butler for the Kennedy administration, for JFK and Robert Kennedy, and monitoring the Martin Luther King movement to make sure the Communist Party would not infiltrate, to make sure the FBI would not engage in racist law enforcement practices, make sure that the black leaders did not commit crimes. For 3.5 years, my phone was tapped. I was trailed by the FBI to make sure I would not review any classified information. And beyond what I just told you, I cannot tell you the details even today. I come to you with that background, and lo and behold, in 1998, two women persuaded me to retire from the bench. Hillary Clinton, Mary Wright Eldridge. I became the judge in residence to the Children's Defense Fund to solve the crisis, to finish the unfinished business of Martin Luther King and Thurgood Marshall. That led to the creation of the National African American Drug Policy Coalition, because after 6 years of working with those two ladies, a gentleman named Clyde Bailey was becoming president of the National Bar Association, and he said, Judge Burnett, I want you to be my judicial chief of staff. I want to bring together all of the black national organizations that deal with health care and deal with criminal justice and juvenile justice, dealing with disparity and dealing with unlawful discrimination. Let us begin to act in unison, working together. Indeed, when we talk about employment, we can't talk about it in isolation. You heard my previous presenters talk about how it relates to housing, because if they don't have housing, how can people even get decent sleep at night? To be functional during the day. We talk about education, about being prepared for the jobs that exist in the future, that our workforce needs. We talk about health, Because we talk about substance abuse, and right now, we're talking about the impact of decriminalization of marijuana. We're talking about legalization of marijuana. Say it's no more dangerous than alcohol, but we have OSHA. We have accidents on jobs where people lose their arms, legs because they're drunk on the job. What about the impact of being high on THC on the workforce employment? How will it impact our people living in our neighborhoods in poverty who, because of that depression, because of that mood disorder, because of that frustration, turn to drinking alcohol and smoking reefers? And yet they go to work, and at work they fall asleep and don't get the job done. So we got to look at all of those things as an integrated whole. So we decided to create this organization, which is headquartered at Howard University and its law school. And that's not by accident. That's because Howard University supported abolishing segregation. And they said, well, Judge Burnett, because of your background in civil rights, we want you to head this, to be the CEO, the National Executive Director, to put all of these national organizations together, to work in unison. Let's avoid being ego freaks. Let's try to be the sole performer, the one that gets the claim for you. We need to come together, not to be more fragmented and more divided. We even pushed the NACP and the Urban League, and they say, well, our mission is totally primary with reference to civil rights on one hand, but we will be supporting organizations. So we cooperate and collaborate with them. But all of the healthcare, the National Medical Association, like nurses, the psychiatrists, the psychologists, the social workers, the pharmacists, all of them are part of the coalition on the healthcare side. On the law enforcement side, NOBLE, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives, National Black Prosecutors, the National Police Office, the laymen in the streets, all of those that are connected with law enforcement, they are today. We represent 26 member organizations, but we broaden that because in dealing with our youth, it is not enough. It's not enough to tell them, like Nancy Reagan, no, don't do drugs. We tell them that in addition not to using drugs, we have to engage in a program that's anti-Romney, which says that we are lazy. We have to inspire and motivate our youngsters to have a work ethic, to excel in academic achievement like they do in sports, like they do in entertainment. Let's teach them that they're not imitating whitey, but to develop pride to be the whole person. So we set out with the National African American Drug Policy Coalition to say 50% of our effort will be devoted to our youth in this country, to prepare them to be total holistic persons, to prepare them not only to be outstanding golf players like Tiger Woods, or like the Williams sisters in tennis, to prepare them to be speakers or be entertainers, rappers, but also be able to use their brains and to be outstanding like Ray Jefferson, or to be outstanding like my son, whom you probably don't know, until I mention now, is the inventor of Viagra and the #1 prostate cancer surgeon in America. Because in 1998, when I was approached, he said, Dad, you made it possible for me to become an outstanding doctor and scientist. You can retire and do anything you want to do. So my wife and I devote $50,000 a year to running the National African American Drug Policy Coalition. And he tells me, Dad, anytime you need money, just call me. See, one of them about the black press, they don't tell you what black achievement. They don't tell you what black accomplishments. They tell you about our foibles and our weakness in them. But they don't tell you about achievements where a young boy, at 19 years of age, fathered 5 children who have 12 degrees, each of them who are outstanding in their careers. So based on what I did with my own 5 children, I developed a program for black children in America, where we have chapters across the country. We have 19 in operation already. We have 25 being formed, where these chapters will have as their mission going into the schools and talking to youngsters, starting at the 3rd grade level as frequently as they'll let us in. Not only talking about the health consequences in a medical sense, not in the moralistic or religious sense, but talk about health consequences of underage drinking and using of drugs as to how it affects the neurological system, the ability to remember and the brain cells. And then we say, we're not only here to talk to you what you shouldn't do, but we're here to engage in our own self-determination program, our own affirmative action program, where I will outline that for you now. Number 1, we are role models. We were poor kids just like you. If I did it, you could do it too. In addition, we tell them, if you fall behind in literacy, in reading and math, between the 3rd grade and 8th grade, we will give you free tutors from the black Greek-led organizations, from the sororities, the black organizations, and the young lawyer, young doctor, young professionals in each of our groups. So that when you get to the 8th grade, you will be reading at the literacy level, reading level, the math level. And then we tell them at that point, we will take you by the hand. Amen. We will provide for every black kid in America who wants to be a doctor not only as a mentor, but as a counselor mentor, to guide you as if you were a son or a daughter. So that when you finish high school, you go to college, you can be an A.B. student, you can pass the medical test to get into medical school. And they will shepherd that kid from the 8th grade all the way through to residency. And when the medical association say we will do it, every other one of my black professional organizations say we will do it too. And by way of workforce development, we say that we're not only talking about council mentorship. When you get to be a junior or senior in high school, we will put you in the internship, but it won't be a simple internship. It will be an apprentice internship. So every kid who wants to be a doctor at 15 years of age can work in a hospital like my son did with Lester Fall, who was president of the American Cancer Society at the time. We will put you in a qualified health care, because my second son is the deputy administrator of all community health centers in America. We will put you in an architect office. We'll put you in an engineer office. We'll put you in a pharmacy setting. We'll put you in a hospital like my second daughter at 15 years of age, who is now the chief economist for Ford Motor Company and buying steel parts for the entire country. I tell them I don't have to talk with a textbook. I don't have to cite statistics. At 81 years of age, I walk the walk. I've done it, I've demonstrated. I have run my college program with my 5 children, each of whom are multimillionaires. See, they don't tell you these black stories. They don't tell you the achievement stories. And then we tell them that when you finish and go into junior and high school, instead of populating prisons, be part of the mass incarceration problem, we can make you the leaders of this country. We can deal with the global problems. Matter of fact, one of the problems with the Wade County movement is that if you were to be objective, if you were to be realistic, from when I finished high school in 1952, when only 8% of blacks had college degrees, we now have college education experience. We now have within 30%. As a category of people from 1960 until now, Negroes, colors, black Americans have made more success and achievements. And indeed, we are talking about being proactive. And when I talk to people, it's not enough to talk to them about rallies and protests. We're talking about, and I've taught in several law schools, we're telling them, don't worry about influencing the policymakers. Become the policymaker. Become a legislator. Become an administrator. Get in a position of power where you make decisions, where you don't have to be knocking on someone's door and asking them to do it for you. Indeed, one of the organizations that's working with us is the National Association of Accountants. They have volunteered to go into schools starting in the middle years. And in the middle years, teach financial literacy so that our kids are not pushed into usury shops and pawn shops. but they develop a capital right away at 23 or 24 years of age, they can open a business because they got a record of, so the point is, there's a lot more I can tell you, but the point is, the time for protests and rallies is just the beginning. We got to be action oriented. We have to be doers. We have to put our money where our mouth is and stop putting it on our back and in our shoes and being pretentious about how much we have and just thinking about ourselves. We have to think about the children of our future. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Judge. Where would I be without my faith? That's what I heard as he was talking about being 19 years old, sitting on the back porch of his place of employment. We're thankful that your father came, and we're thankful that they went to your employer and it was verified. So we're thankful for that and everything that you've done for our country and our community. Thank you so very much. So I believe it's lunchtime now. All right, so are there folks in the room that want CEUs like me? Okay, so this is our person, our contact person for our CEUs for this session. Make sure you see her. I'm sorry, what is your Loretta? See Miss Loretta for your CEU information. At this time, we're going to break for lunch, or we're done with our session. This session will be repeated this afternoon, but I'm sure there are other sessions you'll want to attend. But if you want to come back and continue the conversation, you're more than welcome. We'd like to thank our panelists again. Let's give them a mighty thank you. And we are finished for right now. Thank you.